Back in 2008, the city of Noida was a booming, fast-growing IT hub just outside Delhi, drawing in professionals looking for safety. Among them were Rajesh and Nupur Talwar, both successful dentists, living with their 13-year-old daughter Aarushi and their live-in domestic help of 7 years, Hemraj. But on the morning of May 16th, that secure reality collapsed. When the morning maid arrived at 6 a.m., Hemraj didn't open the door. Instead, the family discovered Aarushi lifeless in bed, her throat cut. Hemraj was missing. The immediate assumption seemed obvious to both the grieving parents and the local police. Rajesh Talwar pointed straight to his missing servant, insisting Hemraj had killed his daughter and run off to his home country of Nepal. Rajesh even offered the police 25,000 rupees to go track him down. Because everyone accepted the narrative of a fleeing servant, investigators stopped looking at the house itself. That single assumption dictated every move the authorities made over the next 24 hours, creating a massive investigative blind spot. It took a full day for someone to look up. On May 17th, a retired police officer visiting the grieving family noticed blood spots near a locked door leading out to the terrace. Police finally broke the lock. What they found on the roof completely dismantled their initial theory. Hemraj hadn't fled to Nepal. His body was lying in a pool of blood, dragged roughly 20 feet and hidden underneath a cooler panel and a bedsheet. The prime suspect was actually the second victim. While the police were out hunting a ghost, the actual crime scene was left wide open. By the time investigators finally tried to secure the apartment, 15 different people, family, friends, and neighbors, had been walking freely through the home. Any usable physical trace of the killer, footprints, stray fibers, or DNA, was thoroughly compromised. Moving forward, investigators had no choice but to rely almost entirely on circumstantial logic and competing theories to try and piece together what happened. With local police struggling, the Central Bureau of Investigation, India's premier investigative agency, took over. The first CBI team turned their attention to 3 Nepali assistants who worked for the Talwars and their friends. But without a secure crime scene, they had zero physical evidence linking these men to the murders. To force a breakthrough, investigators subjected the suspects to narco-analysis, essentially injecting them with a truth serum to extract confessions. The resulting interviews were a mess. Under the influence of the drugs, the 3 men spun wildly contradictory stories. One version blamed one assistant, another version blamed another, and the reported murder weapon changed from a traditional knife to a glass bottle, depending on who was speaking. In the legal system, drug-induced statements mean nothing without physical corroboration to back them up. Because none of their shifting stories could be tied to physical facts, the men were released, and the first major theory collapsed in court. A year later, a second CBI team took a completely different approach. This animated diagram shows their core logic. Apartment L32 was a locked ecosystem. On the night of the murders, there were exactly 4 people inside. 2 were killed and 2 survived. The team noted there were no signs of forced entry at any of the exterior doors. Furthermore, someone turned on the home's internet router, located inside Aarushi's room at 11 p.m. Then there was a nearly empty bottle of scotch, stained with blood. It had been pulled from a highly specific location, a concealed minibar hidden behind a wooden panel. Only someone who lived in the house would know it was there. This clinical graphic maps out another alarming detail. Both victims suffered distinctive V and U-shaped blunt force trauma to their heads. The precise geometric dimensions of these wounds matched a set of golf clubs owned by Rajesh Talwar, which were kept inside the apartment. Even without definitive forensic proof tying them to the act, the sheer volume of these unexplained anomalies painted a compelling picture for prosecutors. In November 2013, a special CBI court ruled that only the parents could be responsible, sentencing Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Nupur Talwar to life in prison. The parents appealed the decision, and in October 2017, the Allahabad High Court began a thorough review of the circumstantial conviction. This visual represents the absolute requirement of circumstantial law, the chain of evidence. To secure a conviction without a direct witness, every single circumstantial fact must link together perfectly to exclude any other possible scenario. The High Court found the prosecutor's chain was severely fragmented. There was no blood on either parent's clothing. Crucial material evidence was missing entirely. and the initial contamination by those 15 wandering outsiders introduced an insurmountable degree of uncertainty into the timeline. Because that evidentiary chain was broken, the court ruled that the prosecution had failed to establish absolute guilt. The parents were granted the benefit of the doubt, and after serving 3 years in prison, they walked free. Today, we are nearing 2 decades since the night of May 15, 2008. After all the arrests, the theories, and the court battles, the person who murdered a 13-year-old girl and a 45-year-old man remains unknown. Just 2 hours before her death, at 10:10 p.m., Aarushi took one final photograph with her new camera, smiling alongside her parents. That digital timestamp is the last confirmed moment of peace in the house. The mystery persists as a direct symptom of basic procedural incompetence. By failing to secure the home, the authorities erased the only physical facts that could have settled the case. Ultimately, the Aarushi Hemraj double murder remains a permanent void in India's legal history. The critical evidence was effectively trampled out of existence within the first 48 hours.